Okay, so they cut whenever I start. I'm gonna start back where I was. But whenever I start talking about prison industries, private sector, and whenever I start ratting on the police for what they do, they always cut my video off. So they literally just fucking cut my video off in the middle of doing a live stream. So I'm having to go back in and I'm gonna label this prison industry. I'm gonna label my first one prison industry private sector number one, and I'm gonna label this one prison industry private sector number two. They should be right up under each other on my page. Okay. So what I was about to show y'all is how they transparently communicate about pens, about needles to inject crystal meth. Okay. Now, the reason they call a penitentiary is because when you go there, this is where they distribute fucking pens to these inmates to shoot crystal meth. Okay. They even have a penology committee that determines your knowledge of these pens. And once they determine that you have knowledge of these pens, they're supposed to allow you to shoot crystal meth in jail and prison. Okay? But what they do is find out whether or not you have sold your soul to the devil. They find out if you're an Emmy or if you're a Billy or if you're an IC or whatever. Okay? And if you're not, then they won't allow you to shoot crystal meth. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you, and like I said, there are inmates that are incarcerated in these places apparently that don't have any pen knowledge at all. They don't have any knowledge of these ICs shooting crystal meth. And the police train these jokers to keep that on the hush hush. Okay. So they can't physically write about these pens. Okay. So they communicate transparently. And I'm about to give you a example of transparent communication. Okay. So here it says, the unauthorized use of an and telephone personal identification number PIN. Okay? You see how they threw you a curve? Well, hold on now. It sounds like we're talking about a telephone personal identification number. But if you look right here, see where it says PIN? A PIN is a needle. Okay? This is called transparent communication. If a legitimate ignorant motherfucker looks at this, or a real motherfucker looks at this, they're going to think this is talking about a telephone pin. Your PIN number for your telephone. And they worded it like that and they made it seem like that for a reason. This is called transparent communication. And all of these ICs are trained to communicate transparently. All right. The unauthorized use of an inmate's telephone personal identification number PIN. The unauthorized use of telephone personal identification number is a serious violation. Inmates are prohibited from sharing and using other inmates' telephones pins. I want you to use your goddamn head for a second. Why would they give a fuck if you allowed a motherfucker to make a phone call from your goddamn pen? It wouldn't fucking matter. They're listening to all the goddamn conversations any goddamn way. It wouldn't matter. It don't matter. That's called a curve. And that's called a transparent communication. Okay. Now, the problem that they have, and let me explain this to you. They have a problem with the COs setting out pins and the other working ICs stealing these motherfuckers. They may set out a pin somewhere, and they do. They hide them everywhere. Okay? They set them out, and you have to go hunt your fucking pin. Okay? But they have a fucking problem with these ICs stealing each other's pins. They may set out a pin for JoJo, and Thomas see that shit and run over there and steal it. Okay? Now, in jail, that happens a lot. Okay? At Kirkland R&E, they bring the pins to you a different way. Okay? They actually have the maintenance crew come in and set out the pins. Okay. Sometimes the COs will bring them. Okay. But what happens is they'll stage a plumbing problem, uh, electrical problem. They will stage a problem for the goddamn maintenance team to come in there and fix. And the maintenance team will come in there and act as if they are motherfucking fixing whatever issue you're having. And they have, in every cell, they have loading stations for these pins. Okay? And the maintenance will come in there and they will bring the pins in there and load them into the loading station, pretending like they're working on something, and they will leave. And then the IC knows where the goddamn pin is. And they'll go to the loading station, they'll get their pin, use it, they'll flush the motherfucker down the toilet, it's over and done with. So that's how they transparently bring pins back and forth to the fucking inmates at Kirkland R&E. And they do it this way to prevent certain inmates such as myself from knowing what the fuck is going on. Okay? When they have a targeted male, a targeted man in these places, these ICs still have to get their pins to shoot dope with. So they use, what I'm telling you is they used them at Kirkland R&E. I hadn't been to all the prisons in the world. I've only been to Kirkland R&E. Okay. So at Kirkland R&E, they had the maintenance bring them in and load them into the loading station. And the ICs are able to go in there and get their goddamn pin, use them, flush it down the toilet, over and done with. Okay. They are literally trained to fabricate situations. They may flood a toilet. They may break a pipe. They may short out a goddamn electrical socket. They may do anything to cause maintenance to have to come in there. And the maintenance will come in there and load their pin into a loading station, and they'll leave. To a legitimate white male such as myself, it looks like the motherfucker had to come in there and fix something. Okay? And they train these ICs to do that. Okay? That's how it works. Like I told you, they have a whole penology committee at Kirkland R&E that determines your knowledge of these pins. Okay. This has been going, this isn't anything new. I'm just sick of the brick wall, and I am going to do everything I can to bring that brick wall down. I don't like the police, I don't like war pigs, and I don't like fucking liars. Okay. You ever listen to Tupac? Okay. In one of his songs, what was it, Hail Mary? He said, Illuminati all through your body. Illuminati, that's meth. Okay. All through your body. Blows like a 12 gauge shotty. So what happens when you do a shot of meth? You can feel it blowing all through your body. Okay. Blows like a 12 gauge shotty. Who is 12? 12 is the police. Okay. So Tupac is making a statement that goddamn Illuminati all through your body blows like a 12 gauge shotty. Feel me? He's talking about shooting dope. Because the police have been giving these goddamn ICs methamphetamine for fucking years, bro. Okay? And Tupac was a cop. What does Pac say backwards? C-A-P. Cop. Okay? Tupac's a goddamn cop. Okay? That's why his name is Tupac. And that's why he said blows like a 12 gauge shotty. Feel me? They've been giving these motherfuckers crystal meth for a long fucking time. That is literally why they call a penitentiary a fucking penitentiary. Now, grace is also methamphetamine, and I'm about to prove this to you. Oh, here it is. The South Carolina parole law creates no right to be released on parole. Parole in South Carolina is strictly a matter of privilege or grace. The South Carolina Board of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services has absolute discretion to grant. You got to watch the fucking wording. Grant, Grant. Okay? That means you're going to fucking rain. This is where they turn your ass into fucking rain. Okay? You got to watch the wording. Once again, the South Carolina payroll law, it ain't parole, it's payroll. The South Carolina parole law creates no right to be released on payroll. Payroll in South Carolina is strictly a matter of privilege or grace. Grace is methamphetamine. Okay, so I'm going to interpret what that says. Parole in South Carolina is strictly a matter of privilege or grace. Okay? The South Carolina Board of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services has absolute discretion to grant or deny payroll. As such, the publication, spell publication, Publication. Okay. So I want to elaborate on. I want to explain this to you. They're not going to come out and literally say you're going to be a goddamn working IC or you're not getting fucking released. Okay. So they drop little hints. They use a lot of words with goddamn IC in it. IC. Because the way they see it, if you ain't smart enough to goddamn figure that out, you don't need to get goddamn released anyway, because you need to take some type of goddamn vocal training because you're fucking stupid. Okay? That's the way hell sees it. That's the way the police see it. Okay? And technically what they're doing is illegal. It's literally illegal. As such, the publication of these parole criteria in no way creates an expectancy of release, nor does it bind the parole board in any way to favorable parole decisions. There's those goddamn ICs again, DECISION, or establish any presumptions of entitlement to payroll. In deciding whether or not to grant parole, why did they say grant payroll? Why do they use a word like grant? Grant. You're going to fucking rain. They're dropping hints again, motherfucker. You better know what you're reading. The parole board considers, among other things, the inmate's record before incarceration as well as during incarceration. The record, look, the record itself is prepared through investigations conducted for payroll board. All right, so I want to explain another thing to you. They used a word like incarceration. Okay. Okay. So literally incarceration means you're in fucking prison. Okay. But you got to understand, once you become a working IC, you are in. You're either in or you're out. Okay. They wage war on anybody who's out. Like myself, I'm out. I ain't in. I'm out. And they've waged war on me. Okay. You have to understand that. So for them to say incarceration, that means you're in. Okay. So basically it says the inmate's record before incarceration as well. Okay. That's letting you know that the wording here is of hell. So what does that mean? It means what I said. They're not literally talking about being incarcerated. They're talking about the fact that you're in. Okay? And that's why it says as well. Well, hell. by the way. All right, so it says the inmate's record before incarceration as well as during incarceration. Okay. The record itself is prepared through investigations conducted for the payroll board, and it becomes a part of the inmate's payroll file. The files are maintained by the Department of Probation, Payroll, and Pardon Services and are by the statute privileged and confidential. The confidentiality of the payroll file is far reaching. Whoa. The confidentiality of the payroll file is far reaching. What do they mean by that? The confidentiality is far reaching. I mean, they're going to keep your ass a goddamn secret. Okay? They're going to keep what they got you doing confidential because they're going to release you to go out and sell dope and entrap men. Okay? You're going to fucking reign. And they're going to keep your goddamn identity a fucking secret. Okay? They're going to force you into regeneration. But they're letting you know that they're going to keep your shit a motherfucking secret. And they will. They will go to great lengths to protect your identity. I will say that. As much as I don't like the police, they will go to fucking great lengths to protect your identity. They will. They really fucking will. Even though you've sold your soul to the devil, you're going to fucking hell, fuck you, whatever. They will go to great lengths to protect your identity. They will. Okay? Look. Inmates themselves have no right to inspect the content of their file. If the inmate thinks his or her file is somehow incomplete or contains some errors or other inaccuracies, he or she must notify the board of the what? Specific error. SPECIFIC. The specific error. Okay? Basically, if you're IC, you're going to understand that. Okay? Anyway, I'm tired. I'm done reading that. I just showed you what goddamn payroll really fucking is. If you don't goddamn believe me, there's the paperwork on your Copper Trust Fund. That ain't Cooper. That's goddamn copper. Okay, that's called art. Just like this is art. That's called cop art. Okay? What is this called? Copenhagen. This is a multi-meaning name. Okay? You also see pen in there. Okay? Cop and the word fucking pen. Okay? So I can transparently communicate to you two things at one time. I can communicate to you that I'm a goddamn cop, and I can communicate to you that I need a fucking pen. Right? Pen Hagen. Okay? So I've communicated two things to you simply by pulling out a can of Copenhagen and throwing in a dip. If you're an IC and you work for the police and you've been trained in law art, you're going to know two goddamn things right here. I either want a pen, I got a pen, and I'm a goddamn cop. You're going to know that. Right? If you got any type of goddamn, this is called art. This is called transparent communication. Okay? If I wanted you to assume or to know that I was a cop, I could maybe pull out a piece of copper wire and play with it. Okay. This motherfucker's a cop. There's a lot of ways that I could transparently communicate to you that I was a fucking cop, right? And they train these ICs in that shit. Okay? They're trained in this. It is my personal goal to bring the fucking brick wall to the fucking ground. These are fucked up people, bro. These are nasty fucking people, bro. The I is a nasty motherfucker. Bill is a nasty motherfucker. Emmy is a nasty fucking bitch, bro. These are sick fucking people, bro. I'm going to bed.